low income apartment, living off food stamps. We're 20 years old. We just got married. I have a baby on the way. Didn't have enough money for diapers, the whole thing to, hey, we make enough money and we live pretty well and we get to travel where we want to travel. But now what? Because all my goals are money. It wasn't more of a purpose side. And that's a strategic coach, and meeting with people like you has really helped me identify, which is super cool.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of What's Next podcast. We've had a really good range of guests on the show. And the next guy I'm going to bring on, I think you're going to love him for a lot of reasons. One, he's been going at this since he's 20 and he's not 50 now, but he's been around the block, worked 3 jobs to make things happen. I got a chance to meet him in Strategic Coach. We've been working sort of quasi offline, online together, which has been so fun for me to watch. But if you had the definition of a true, gritty, young entrepreneur who just said, F it, I'm going to go for it, that's Landen. So Landen Goodnight, welcome to the show, man. I am so stoked to have you on. We typically see each other in these sort of coaching situations. So to have you on the show right now, as you can tell, I'm pretty pumped. So welcome to the show.
It's been super cool getting to know you over the past, I don't know, a little over a year, I guess, already, which is pretty cool. And everything that you're doing is pretty cool. So thanks for having me on.
No, this is great. So we're going to cover a pretty good range. As typical, I give you some ideas, but we don't go deep so that everybody kind of gets the old, we're chatting over a beer or coffee, little fireside chat. You've got 40 plus agents that work for you now. You're what, 33?
35 now. So yeah,
35.
Thanks for aging me a couple of years. There you go.
Hey, that's my job, man. You're 35. I think most guys and gals would say, I might just have my first foot in the door on a career before I'm even thinking about doing something next. You've been doing this for almost 15 years, out on your own, making it happen. You got 40 guys underneath you, topped over $1 million a year in revenue personally, which I appreciate you being candid about that and giving me permission to talk about that, which is not a flex. If there's anybody more humble, I'd love to meet him. You and I talk a lot about your humility as sometimes being a stopgap to you doing something great. So I think we've got a lot of things to talk about here. But as you think about managing people as a young entrepreneur, what so far has been like the biggest challenge? And I know that's a wide range, but if you can think of 1 or 2 things for anybody who's in your age range, doing this, wondering, man, am I imposter syndrome here? Am I just flying by the seat of my pants? What's one of the biggest challenges on managing the people side?
Yeah, what's interesting is I think just finding the right fit. So I think like slowing down the process, I'm trying to find people that are like me, I guess, a little bit. We've created a system where it's ordinary people to do extraordinary things, but I'm really looking for people that are going to be, I'm trying to think how to explain it, to be honest with you, but I'm doing a big hire right now to kind of duplicate me, kind of a chief of staff. And we spent 15 hours together. I used to just say yes to people and don't really actually know who they are, know their character. Are they hardworking? Do they have the traits that you're actually looking for? So I would say that's the hardest thing, is actually getting to know the people. Yes, giving people a chance. And I've given people a chance that's actually worked out really well right off the bat, but I've also been burned pretty hard as well. So I think the biggest challenge is really identifying who the right person is. If we're talking about finding somebody,
Yeah,
sure.
no, that's great. And you and I have talked a little bit about this because I think in the beginning, I'm a wonderful 58 years old. So a lot of gray hair that goes with those years of experience. But I can remember in the early days, I wanted to hire all my buddies, not literally, but sometimes. I loved having people around me that were like me. And it took me a long time to figure out that if I just had a bunch of people like me, I know what my kryptonite is to my superpower. It would be pretty ugly. And it has turned out with a few companies. So I love to hear you say that you are spending the time to find some people that, yes, you'd like them to have the same ethos as you. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, your strong faith, but also do they fill the gaps, right? And I think you've talked about that offline. I mean, let's just go in there. So what is your superpower? And when you're building out your team, you're in this process of looking for a chief of staff. What is that person going to have that you don't have? So maybe start with what your superpower is, and then what that person that you bring on is going to kind of fill the who, not how side of things.
Yeah, I've kind of broken it down to leadership, vision, and implementer. I don't need another person that's going to give me ideas. Let's bounce ideas off each other. But I'm really the person that's like, hey, I have a vision. I know where we're going. I know what we're here to accomplish. But then I need someone to actually, I guess, maintain. I can get stuff started, but it's like, hey, long term. And so that's actually the role that it's like literally he starts May 10th. Super excited about that. But yeah, that's his kind of role is, hey, I'm going to be focused on a couple other ventures that I'm working on right now. Can you 10x where we're at right now? And really, I already have a vision. I know where we're going to go. I know what he's going to be doing, but I need someone to kind of maintain and build from there.
That's awesome because so you're interviewing, obviously you interviewed more than one guy and gal. What are they saying to you that because I think it's easy sometimes for the candidate to say, oh, yeah, you're a visionary. That's great. Sure, I can go keep the trains running on time. I can go dot all the I's and cross all the T's for you. No problem. You and I have talked a lot offline. I think your intuition for people is amazing. And that is part of your faith. You really do a great job of dialing into that. What is that person saying, or what is the guy that you hired? What did he say that you're like, okay, I think that is his superpower. He really
Yeah.
is a doer, and I'm more of the thinker visionary. What did he say? Was it one thing? Was it a series of things?
Yeah, I think what's funny is even though I started when I was 20, I actually had a track record of a few things I was able to do and just my background a little bit. He actually has built something from scratch at the organization he's with. So he took something completely broken, fixed it, added it, and that's actually what I need. I'm not looking for somebody that actually needs a lot of direction. I like people that are self and that can run. Let's put them on the right train track. Let's make sure they're going in the right direction. But I need someone actually going to pick it up and run. And so the fact that he actually didn't get trained in his last position, took something broken and fixed it, big attraction for me. So out of all the people that I kind of been looking for, and then also just character wise, my kid's basketball coach for the past 3 years. So I got to know this guy over the past 3 years, and I actually approached him. I'm like, hey, what do you think about maybe getting together as a fit? And he took me up on it. We got coffee, and again, 15 hours later and some time, we just did a photo shoot for our website we're building and all this stuff. And just even seeing just, hey, this is where I'm going, and him understanding the vision, and then give even already, even though he hasn't started yet, advice on how to make it better. And to be honest, I'm trying to always find someone that's going to make things better. If I'm the only
Yep.
one in every category that's the best, that's probably a problem. But yeah, so
Yep.
that's going to make your life a little bit better.
All right. So as I typically do, I'm just going to do a quick summary here. You grab ordinary people to do extraordinary things, which I think is fantastic. For those of you, you've heard me on the show talk about this a lot. The Colby Index, I cannot speak more highly of it. Link will be in the show notes below. They do such a phenomenal job. And Landon just talked about one of his strengths, which I know from our time at Strategic Coach, which oftentimes fits most of the people at Strategic Coach, is we're quick starts. We can get things started quickly. And where we typically don't do so well is to see it through to the end. So I'm glad that you, number one, know that about yourself, which I know from our time together and our work together. But more importantly, if I just got another quick start, all we'd have is a bunch of ideas and these empty boxes on the side. So I'm glad that you had that. And obviously, when you talk about the character, so piece of advice for everybody, if your kids are still playing sports at that age in your life, go find a coach. That's a great interview process, because we see all the garbage, right? When you look at any youth sport sideline, it is, for the most part, it's probably not fair, but a lot of times it can be an absolute train wreck between that head coach yelling or screaming at the refs or the umpires or whatever it might be. And I think that's your first indication. Go the opposite direction. So apparently this guy passed the test on what I think is one of the hardest playing fields, which is coaching kids. So kudos to you for kind of having an eye out for that.
And what I'll say too on that, which is kind of funny, I actually had him take Colby as well. What I appreciate about his Colby, he actually has a pretty strong quick start as well. So he can figure stuff out on his own, which is exciting, and try different things. But his follow through is just so much further, which is pretty exciting. So we use the Colby, just so you know. So I know you threw that out there, but yeah, that's actually what I did I didn't want to say yes to the guy. We were pretty far along, but I had him fill out a Colby to make sure that I wasn't just hiring the same person, that everything that he was telling me kind of lined up as well, which it did, which is pretty fun.
Yeah. And just so we don't get stuck here, folks, you can go back and look at the episode. We talked a lot about the Colby test. And again, just promoting the company because of how much it has helped us in every one of our businesses. It helps our clients like Landon just immediately cut through the noise of sometimes people can just say the right thing, and it helps in the hiring process. But most importantly, as you build out your team, you're going to find out where everybody sits at the table. We share it with all of our team members, each individual's scores, and we get their permission, obviously. But at High Velocity, my sports center, it was a massive aha, because we had some that were risk averse, some that wanted to jump right in, and they didn't know that about each other just based on the jobs they were doing. So it's super helpful. Go back and watch that episode, but it just works time and time again. So in that, you talked about character, which I think is so cool. And you and I have shared this, a truly strong faith portion of our businesses, time as fathers. You've got 3 kids. I've got my twin boys. I think it's just foundational. I think this is really one of the things that a lot of founders and entrepreneurs are wrestling with, especially today, is how do I blend my faith, which I may have at home with my family and my community, with my business, which is customer facing in the industry. How are you making those two things blend together in harmony?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, the big thing with me is just if you're going to have faith at home, you need to have faith here. By just showing up, working hard, by actually just serving other people, it's benefited me so much. There's been situations where I'm the one in the equation not winning because I just decided to lay on the sword. And I'm just like, hey, it's not worth the fight. I just want to be a light to this person. Just be like Jesus. I'm just going to lay on the sword. That's always served me well. It's taken me 35 years to feel like I'm coming out of this. Actually been meeting with you and stuff. And we've been talking. It's like, I'm not going to apologize for being Landon, right? But it doesn't mean that I'm sitting there saying the name Jesus every 5 seconds. I'm going to show up. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to serve our clients. I'm going to be there for people. But I think having that as like a foundation is going to take you to the next level because I'm not just all about money. I'm not all just about the bottom line. It's, hey, let's actually do what's best for our clients. Let's do best for our agents. Let's do best for kind of everything we're doing, which then allowed me to start another even business. I saw a hole. Hey, let's fill in that gap. Not saying that you have to have faith to be able to think that way, but I think talk about like a superpower. That's the way I'm thinking, which actually blends it really well for sure.
Yeah, a couple of things you and I have talked about. One is this imposter syndrome. We didn't make up that term. It's been around for a long time. Is, am I good enough? Should I have a seat at this table? Am I old enough? I'm sure you run into that a lot where my thing was I went to San Diego State, which back then maybe wasn't the best university in the world. It certainly was Harvard. And at the end of the day, I found out it didn't matter. That was the perfect university for me. They did wonderful things for me in the classroom. I got everything out of it that I wanted. And I think understanding that who you are on Tuesday is who you are on Saturday. And when you bring that to work, whether we're talking about faith, whether we're talking about our integrity, all of those things wrapped together, people around are going to ask questions. How is it that you can be this awesome dude who's out having great time on the weekend with your kids and your family, taking amazing vacations so that you can love on each other and you bring that same love into the office? Well, in your case, that's just who I am. It's how I'm wired. That's how God made me. I'm that kind of guy. I love building people up. I know that about you. That's what makes you so great at hiring people, is you can do that. So I think the fact that you're intertwining those things to create this harmony 7 days a week speaks volumes about that interplay between faith and work. And the advice for any entrepreneurs, young or old, is the closer you can get to being the same person on Tuesday as you are on Saturday, the easier it will be. You don't have to take a mask off. You don't have to show up differently. You just are who you are. And oddly enough, you'll be really attractive, meaning from just relational perspective in what you bring in your life. So I love that. I love that you're living that at 35. I wish I had that at 35.
The thing that freaks me out is we've all met the person that's like completely different outside of work. And that freaks me out. Is that not the scariest thing ever? So we went on a trip to Hawaii with a bunch of work people. I'm such a family guy. Yeah. My three boys, almost 14, 11 and 8, they came with us. They're seeing the same Landon around his family it'd be awkward to see work people if that was the case, but that's not a problem. Same thing. We're going to Europe with work and then we're going to extend it a few weeks. Crazy about that is it's like, I'm going to bring the family, and a lot of people don't want to intertwine that. It's like, no, this is who I am. I'm a family guy. This is just, we're going to bring the kids. It is what it is, kind of a thing. So it doesn't matter if I'm around work people or personal people. Like you said, it's the way God made me, and it is what it is, a thing. So yeah, it freaks me out seeing people that are different on the weekends.
And folks, the takeaway here is, which I just think is number one, it's cool about the show, because what's next with an exclamation point is about what's next. It's let's go discover it. Let's be on this journey. And we are discovering. And there is no one right fit. How Landon and I may choose to do that. We bring in our families, and Denise and I travel a lot together when we're doing client stuff and mixing it in. And that's who we are. And that's what makes us thrilled to be doing that work. It doesn't mean if that's not you, it's wrong. It just means I can give you a lot more examples of people who are the same Tuesday as they are on Saturday, that are doing amazing things, that are happy, have harmonious lives, all the things we talk about, because they don't have to do what you just said, Landon, which is be a different person when they're on a work trip, or to be a different person on Tuesday than they are Saturday. So I think there's a lot to that. I honestly think we could do a whole show on that, because I think the fallacy of work-life balance is a bit of a joke. We did a show on that too. Go check that one out. It's balancing, right? There are seasons in life. But as you think about kind of the industry that you're in, right? You've been in the insurance industry, and I think most people might, boy, it's a sleeper. Obviously, you're crushing it, and there's a long runway ahead of it based on the fact that you're now building a coaching and advisory business. My guess is in short order, you're going to be full there as well. You get 40 plus agents working for you. You're a 10% partner in a $30 million organization. So I look at this as like a hidden gem, and that's the term you use as well. How did you see that? And what do you see going forward in the insurance industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What's funny is I fell into it. I was 20 years old. I actually was about to be driving trucks. I don't know if we want to get in the past and stuff too, but I actually almost got a Class A license, quit my full time job on my honeymoon to do this crazy insurance commission only business. And yeah, what's interesting is it is the hidden gem. Think of Incredibles. So the Incredibles movie, like for the kids, he went from being a superhero, and you know that the guys around the table were like, "What's the lamest job we can give a superhero?" And he's in the insurance business. When he throws the guy through the wall, it's insurance. Every interaction of like a movie, it's like one day I'm going to wake up and I'm 60 years old, fat, bald, and I'm in insurance, selling insurance. It's like, that's what I love about those analogies is nobody knows how amazing it is. We're talking about residual income. We're talking about go drive down the freeway, look to the right, look at every single business, look at every single restaurant, look at all the cars in the park. Everybody needs insurance and it's unlimited and it's only growing. I don't know what percentage of the GDP it is, but there's only more and more insurance now that we got AI and technology. They came out with cyber insurance. So we're in that commercial space, but it's continually growing. And it is truly the hidden gem that nobody thinks about. And I know, like with your list, you said, with what's next, just think about something maybe a little different. I'm in the middle of even writing a book of how to make $1 million not revenue, not premium income in commercial insurance, because it is that hidden that nobody thinks about. That's actually lucrative. If you're with the wrong company, that's not going to work. But the way that we're set up is very unique. So yeah, as you can tell, I kind of perk up. Like, all right, now you're talking my language a little bit because
Yeah.
I'm pretty passionate that it is something someone overlooks, and that's one thing. Like especially with these young people, I have two 22-year-olds right now that are making over $100,000 a year. Didn't go to college, started. They're 2 years in the business, hit a $16,000 month last month, and you're sitting there, you're like, oh, this is actually legit, absolutely, and they would have never thought about it. And same with me, insurance didn't even cross my radar at all, for sure.
Yeah. The couple of things I wrote down there, and I appreciate you bringing it up. One is, and we talk about this on the show a bit, there's nothing wrong going into, let's say, AI or pro sports team investing. I'm trying to pick a couple of really hot topics right now. But as you can imagine, wherever things are really sexy and there's a lot of attention there, there's also going to be a lot of competition there with silly money. And silly money does silly things, right? So you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. I'm not saying it's all wrong in those places, but it is a very, very shark infested water. No pun intended. You can take some other industries, and Landon, my boys, Josh and Owen, are doing their company, the Golf Sock. You say socks. Again, most people are like, ugh, socks. They're doing pretty damn good selling socks in a golf industry, which is pretty small in the whole scope of socks. And they're doing awesome for that exact same reason. They just took something that was kind of sleepy and forgotten about. They added their own personal twist, have gone headfirst into doing that great. And oddly enough, the riches are in the niches. They're doing awesome. And I think insurance, obviously a much larger industry, protects all our cell phone insurance company. Residual income, I don't know if there's anything better than that on the planet. It's just not sexy. But yet when you go there and you do great things, and that is the second part of this, regardless of what industry you go into, if you're not ready to do great things, industry doesn't matter. But more opportunity will exist in places like insurance and those sort of latent marketplaces. So I love the fact that you didn't jump around at 22, at 25, at 20. You've stayed pretty focused, and obviously results are speaking for themselves between getting ready to launch a book, having the advisory and coaching business, being further invested in Parent Co. that has a long runway, and then obviously finding and training talent, which is absolutely amazing. When you think about high performers, you just mentioned these two young guys, didn't go to college, which I love, by the way. I don't think college is a path for everybody. And someone's been a high performer, whether they went to school or not, college or not, and they're thinking about starting their thing over. Okay, I'm tired of doing this thing. I just listened to Landon. I could give this a go in any industry, even insurance. What piece of advice would you give them in starting over? Because not all of them have the luxury of starting at 20. They might be 35 now and have done something else for 15 years and like, this freaking sucks. I need to make a change. I'm unhappy. I'm not living my best self. I don't know what my North Star is. What advice do you give to that high performer who's going to be thinking about starting over?
Yeah. And I've seen 55-year-olds starting over all the way down to my newest guy is 39 and then 30, just, but I think that's what you said. I think that the reason I have seen people be successful is there's kind of no other path for them. They have a really good reason why they want to do what they're doing. Maybe they want to move out of state. Maybe they want the residual income. They want the retirement. If what they're wanting actually is for them, they'll make it happen. The problem is it's so hard to be an entrepreneur Most businesses fail. Most people can't keep going. If you looked at my first 7 years in business versus where I'm at now, it's just 100% different. The why has got to be there. I actually write down 10 whys of why they're going to join. You have to have your reasons why, because everybody, as well as yourself, is going to say to quit at all these different steps along the way. And are you committed? So that's my big thing. If someone's a high performer, that's great. Is the reason you're going to go into a new business or a new whatever, you have to have a strong why. And that's got to be your North Star day in and day out. Because, and then also, I will say this too, give my wife a shout out. Man, we were on our honeymoon when I quit my job. Just to throw that out there. Don't recommend that for everybody. Super thankful I did. It worked out great. But my wife was on board. And I know you've talked about in the past, Bryan, I've heard, man, your wife's on board. Most people don't make it because their spouse isn't on board. Make sure both of you, if you're married anyways, be on the same page of where you're headed, because she kept me going. I was like, man, I'm so busy. She's like, great. Me and the baby, I had a baby at 21. And she's like, hey, you need to be at work. Make sure you're home at a certain time, but go in at 5 o'clock in the morning. We're sleeping. So she pushed me to even work harder than I might have even myself. And she saw where we were headed. And so she bought in. And then that's why I was able to keep going. Most businesses fail because they just stop and they don't have a good enough reason why, in my opinion. Obviously, if you have a bad idea, that's a whole nother problem. But I'm saying right idea, you got to be committed for sure.
Yeah, no, I love you sharing that, because knowing your why sounds obvious, but you can insert everything from, I'll say, the ultimate, right? Starting a business, which is freaking scary and hard and all of those things. Everybody wants what you're talking about now, but they're not willing to do the work that you did for the 7 years to get there. And my boys are the same, right? We're teaching them that what today at 25, your mother and I went through this 2.5 decades ago when we started our sports facilities business. And to your point, she said, hey, if it means we have to move into a apartment, we'll do it. Like, we will make this work. I felt like I could go conquer the world, right? I had someone on my team that believed in me, but I had to share the vision. I had to share my why, which is, I don't just want to go be another retired soccer player. I want to do something great. I want to build legacy in our community. She's like, okay, then let's go. So when you share the why, think about it. If you want to go lose 15 pounds because you're pre-diabetes, that's a pretty important why. And the minute you share it with all the other people, your spouse, your friends, whatever, you're going to find out pretty quickly who your friends are. Because if they're not saying, hey, come on, wake up early, get to the gym, think about what you're eating. Like, those are the people you want to be around. And I think that's how you build that success pattern. So that's great advice. And I think we went long on it, but for good reason, that if you know your why and you share it, you'll build an accountability team around you. And again, whether that's starting a business or changing some things in your life, we talk a lot about the 5 components in life, kind of the life wheel. Are you healthy in those areas? We ask that you share each of those areas with someone that you trust, a group of 3 around you. You are the sum of the 3 people you're with. And it helps from accountability's perspective, for sure.
Yeah. Well, then one thing I was going to say, and the last thing, it's not about the why necessarily, but are you doing this just for money's sake, or are you going to actually streamline and have some freedom? I know we talk about with strategic coach, the 4 freedoms and stuff too, but it's like actually creating a process in an opportunity that's going to allow you the freedom to step away and have the business grow when you're not there and stuff like that as well is a whole nother ball game too. So sometimes the why is just money. And I'm like, let's think on that, because yes, if you're a hard worker and you're in the right industry, you can make a lot of money, but then what after that? That's great. You make some money, but do you want to make money when you're not actually going? That's like the Robert Kiyosaki calculator. It's like, I want to build a business that if I walk away in a month, can the business run without me for a year? And I've just built that way. And so that's another thing, just another component. I don't know if that applies to what we were talking about fully, but it just popped in my head of, I really want to see people not just go and make money too, or start a new industry. And it feels good working, be 24/7 and making money, but it's like, can you actually walk away? Can you have the freedoms? And I know you talk about it a lot, but that's being an entrepreneur, man, streamlines everything.
I agree. And I think, as people know, there's freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of relationships, then ultimately freedom of purpose. And they stack that way, because as you gather more money, you get a chance to buy some of your time back, right? Have others help, position others to help. When you have mastered the time and money thing, you start to be around people that you want to be with. Like, you and I get some time together. That's not by accident. You and I make time for each other. We're iron sharpens iron here. So we get the freedom of those relationships. And when you get enough of those people around you, you are truly doing the thing that God put you on this planet to do. That's your freedom of purpose. When you get a chance to really, in your case, you're going to advise, you're going to grow, you're going to hire people, you're going to empower them, you're going to give them opportunities. I'd say you're living pretty darn close to your purpose on this planet. And that comes by building those stages. And along the way, I think that's right. Can you build a company that can operate without you? And if the only reason you are doing that is so that you can put more money in the bank, you can imagine you'll spin right back at coming work in the company. But if it's so that you empower people, you show them a path to growth, it gives you more time to be with the people you want to do the things you're called to do. Wow, that kind of feels like I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. It's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. So expand a little bit on that, right? Because you're in the process right now of, I wouldn't say putting the final touches on that. It's always a work in progress, but yeah, you've had some time to take away to be a coach for a couple of weeks at a time, to take your family with you on vacations that are also with work. How do you do that? How do you build that sort of self-managing company, as Dan Sullivan would call it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, my theme when I started my whole process, I built everything around the way my brain works. It's the E-Myth Revisited book, Michael Gerber, shout out to him. I literally broke out every piece of the process and tried creating a system so that anybody can follow the system and be successful, ordinary people to do extraordinary things. So everything that I did is I broke out the process and figured out how to duplicate myself without it being a personality like mine. Just we have lots of different people, everyone from age 20 to 55. People have master's degrees, people have didn't go to college, all the things because the system actually works. And so spending more time on the process and give you freedom. This is going to be, what do you say, third world problem, but you make enough money, you do all the things you want, you're debt free, you pay off all that fun stuff. And you're like, I don't have to show up and I still can make money. Why am I showing up every day? And so I had a few years of really struggling with an identity of like, what am I called to do? Went on some mission trip. Are we supposed to move overseas? What are we supposed to do? And I was like, man, actually keep doing and giving people an opportunity and actually serve other people through my business, which allows me to do missions work, which I'm getting messages from WhatsApp from Africa and all these other places. Like I actually get to do business and I love business and I get a coach and I get to help people and actually help. So what are we called to do? And so the reality was just more of what I'm doing. And I truly feel like that purpose piece, as well as I will say that freedom of relationships, huge. Getting to a place where you can work with only the people you people with is absolutely incredible. And that's the piece that I guess I was just saying yes on opportunity of I think they might be all right, but are they really the right person? Do you like them? Are you going to go to lunch with them? Are you going to text them? Are we actually going to like jive together? What I'm currently doing right now is making sure I'm working with the people I really want to work with. That word retirement's such a joke for entrepreneurs. Just do what you want to do. And I'm kind of retired and get to do what I want to do. And if I don't want to do it, I get to go home. That's pretty exciting. But I will say, if you don't know where you're headed and your North Star, you're going to wake up and all my goals were in the beginning was just money. I low income apartment, living off food stamps. We're 20 years old. We just got married. I have a baby on the way. Didn't have enough money for diapers, the whole thing to, hey, we make enough money and we live pretty well and we get to travel where we want to travel. And but now what? Because all my goals are money. It wasn't more of a purpose side. And that's a strategic coach and meeting with people like you has really helped me identify, which is super cool.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
appreciate you bringing that up. It literally is probably 50% of the work that I do with Fortune 500 founders and CEOs down to young guys that you and I talk about that we do some mentoring with is really, do you understand your why? And ultimately, where are you at in that pyramid, right? Because in the
Mhm.
beginning, we are trading time for money, whether we're at
Mhm.
20 or some of us realize that in our mid 40s. Like literally, I'm trading my time for money. And if I go on vacation, there's going to be 2 weeks, nothing's happening, and I have to scramble again for the next 50. That when you do get the luxury of freedom of relationship, it is that halftime in your life, right? A midlife crisis, quote unquote, which is really, am I surrounding myself with the people that I want to be with? Denise and I would always say, is it someone we'd invite over to our house for Thanksgiving dinner? It's a trite but interesting question, because at the end of the day, if we are the sum of the 3 people we hang around with or the 5 people we hang around with, and I want to be the same person I am Tuesday as I'm on Saturday, there may be some relationships where someone just doesn't cheer for me to do great. They'd rather see
Mhm.
me stay at my 20-year-old self on food
Yeah.
stamps, wondering how I'm going to pay debt. There's others who are constantly looking for ways to lift me up, and I do the same for them. So it is a refinement of that. And to your point, it's kind of like, I can't believe that I have the freedom to do this. It does feel like world's vision of retirement or definition of retirement. But in reality, I'm actually giving back more to the people I'm around today than I was when I was working 70, 80 hours a week when we opened up High Velocity 26 years ago. So yeah, I'm with you. I think that's great. And the whole idea of having a self-managing company is so that you can do more of that, not that
Mhm.
you just have more time to go fishing or playing golf, which I love both of those things. Maybe some
Yeah.
surfing.
Well, and that's the thing is too, is that like when you think of multiple avenues or multiple businesses. And it's like people look at, I explain everything I'm doing between missions and business. Then people, I'm like, I have so much more time than I can handle a lot more because
Yeah.
when you streamline it all, you actually can do more. And I will say one thing talking about like friendships and your other people, maybe this doesn't apply to your audience, but man, being an entrepreneur is like, it's lonely. There's a reason why Strategic Coach has a networking for even couples and stuff too, is because if you're going to be the top 1%, you're not like the 99 and you're always the odds. And so actually making friends and actually making sure you're around good people is actually more difficult than it might seem. Maybe that's just a Landon problem, but I will say I've met many people that are in that world. This is lonely and they don't know how to almost interact. So yeah, it's really interesting.
No, I'm glad you bring it up because it is the culminating part of the show. It's why we started it. Quite frankly, it's the crux of the work that I'm doing now. And I know I've talked to you and you have an interest in it as well. With our clients, again, the range is amazing, right? We've got some that have founded Fortune 500 companies to unique energy companies in Montana, right? And they're
Mhm.
just such incredible people. But the universal thing is I may have a board of advisors. I may answer to a board. We may be a publicly traded company. I might have 150 or 300 employees. It's kind of lonely. And there are times where I just don't have the sounding board or the chance to think strategically with somebody to help me interact with my board of advisors or set a 10x vision instead of a 2x vision over the next 5 years. If that's you, that's the work we do. So please DM me, reach out. If it's to put you in touch on the insurance side with guys like Landon, in this case, specifically with him, that's why we make these connections, right? It is a lonely spot. So don't
Yeah.
go it alone. Don't be a lone soldier. It's worth connecting with other people. And even by reaching out, I've probably connected 50 or 60 people just in the last 3 months where I'm just connecting them with others to be around that kind of energy. That's the work we're doing. So if we can help, shoot us a note, contact information in the show notes below. Landon, for those that have taken this in and thought, whether it's insurance or man, I just would love to get in touch with you and talk more. Where do these guys find you and where do they get more information?
Yeah, I don't do social media or anything like that. I haven't done it in a long time. Just go to Landon, Landen, Goodnight, GOODNIGHT.com. So landongoodnight.com. There's a way to get a hold of me on there. So you can
Perfect.
email me directly on there.
And if you're out for a run or driving, don't slam the brakes. It'll be in the show notes as we always do. It'll be hot linked. All you got to do is click that. You'll end up on the landing page. And what I do know about Landon is if you go there, you will hear from him. Unlike, I think, a lot of other talking heads out there, this is a guy who's real. He's walked the walk. We gave a thumbnail scratch on his background and his startup mentality from the age of 20, which actually started well before that. He's the real deal. So if you want to talk to somebody who's actually walked in those shoes and wondering what it's like, I can think of no better person to get started with. Landon, thanks for being on the show, man. This has been great. I'm looking at my notes right now and thinking, there's another show in here. So with your permission, I'm going to have you back on because I think we just started a really good conversation, especially for that young entrepreneur that is quite frankly scared to death about, do I go the corporate route or do I do this on my own? And if I do, can someone help me? And obviously that's the work you're going to do. So thanks, man. I really appreciate you being on the show.
No, I appreciate it. And just so you know, if you do reach out, I'm doing private investing, coaching, the insurance side. So I'm learning just like everybody else. And so that's one thing, talking about being lonely and stuff. Like the more people I can surround myself around, just heading in the right direct or same direction and like just become friends with and get to know. That's been super fun for me. So people like Bryan and stuff like that too. Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. And then yeah, absolutely. We'll do this again. That'd be cool.
That sounds great, man. I've loved doing the work with you. All right, everybody. That's the pod. As always, if you like it or somebody that should hear it, forward it to them. I mean, that's how we grow everything. That's how we bring awesome guests on like Landon. And we'll catch you on the next episode of What's Next.